I know I've been making a lot of videos recently, and probably no one is going to watch this. I'm not going to get that many views, maybe 50 in a day if I'm lucky, but again, you know, this is nothing spectacular, but ignorance really is bliss, isn't it? I remember when I was a kid and I didn't really go anywhere. I mean, I had my books and my Legos, but I didn't really explore my area. I was always afraid to venture to the back roads to go farther than, you know, my middle school, my elementary school. That was pretty much that was all I went. Those were the only places I went, just school and home, and somehow I was fine with it. My world was small, very small. Going to the mall or the library in those days, that was a big deal. I mean, of course, right? You're a kid, you're dumb, everything's new, everything's interesting. But it was nice. Well, I've been around this place now, and you know, finally realize how little there is to see, and how there's just nothing here at all. And yes, that's a smoke detector. Deal with it, I don't care. There ain't shit. You know, and also just being aware of the world and realizing that, hey, it kind of sucks and it's pretty cruel. Seem to worship money, and if you don't check certain boxes, then you're kind of fucked, and you really are not going to be able to reap society's benefits. That's just a fact of life. It was better when I didn't realize that, so I could give myself false hope and tell myself, oh, it'll be okay, I'll figure it out. Even though I never figured it out, and it's not okay, because you can't just fuck around and find out, because when you find out, it's not fun. You know? And I think I have a theory. The reason, well, it's not really a groundbreaking theory. I think you all know this. The reason why normies, or should I say, why the average person, normie sounds a bit rude. The reason why the average person seems to be able to maintain a relatively positive attitude, or at least maintain a positive/decent outlook on life, is because they are largely unaware or do not care, right, about the bigger picture. They only care about themselves, about their lives, right, and maybe the lives of, a couple friends, and that's it. In part because they are insulated, right? This is what I've noticed. They are insulated by a combination of looks, skill, and just enough social charisma to get by, right? Most people are not that charismatic, they're not that popular. They're not really people pleasers, but they look good enough, and they can get along okay. And above all, a lot of these guys, they're really good at what they do, right? Like my classmates, right? They know what they're doing. They're interested in knowing what they're doing. They have experience. They don't, these guys aren't supermodels. They just look average. They look okay. Like the best looking out of them is maybe like a 7 out of 10, right? Best case, that's the best of them. Looks 7 out of 10, right? But they're just good at what they do. They're good at, doing labs. They're good enough at the theory classes, right? They've got the job experience to back them up, to get them decent, well-paying positions at, big companies, right? Like you really do have to be able to figure out the game early on, because society kind of expects you to figure it out, and, you're supposed to make this much progress by this age, or be able to do this by that age, and you're supposed to be able to totally invest yourself, I feel like, in nothing, almost nothing but your career. It's like an almost total devotion to whatever your area of study is, whatever your job is. Like, that is what is expected of you, to be loyal to your work, to your profession, even if your profession or your work is not loyal to you at all, right? Again, I've heard it before. It's like, apprentices are worth a dime a dozen, right? Like us going out in the field, right? I heard this, right? This one guy talking about it. I was milling around. I heard him talking about it. He's like, yeah, apprentices are a dime a dozen, I can, right? Like I said in my previous video, I can just pick some guy off the street and, have a new one in an hour. It's like, yeah. Like, you are expected to just be totally loyal to your profession, even though your profession sees you as disposable because there's so many of you. This applies to everybody, except maybe doctors, because the thing with doctors is that there's not a lot of them because it's so hard. But, even stuff like STEM, right? I remember one year, there was this university or something where, like, really smart people, really talented people with a lot of experience too. Like, I knew this one guy who was like fucking working, right, for like an aircraft company, and he was like coding, like helping them like code their flight radars or something. And this uni was like, you know what? Fuck you. I reject you. It's like, this guy has actual like experience with like a real company, and like, they're not a small company either, and you reject him. It's like, this just goes to show you how many people they get. It's just like an influx of just so many applicants that they don't care. They don't care. And then they start going about, why don't we have enough workers? Why don't people, apply to our jobs? Why are people hopping around between companies? I don't fucking know. Maybe because people don't like to be treated as, fucking candy wrappers. But, I mean, hey, enough people still get in, so who cares, right? Everything's working just fine. And that's how it is, right? Like, basically what I'm trying to say is, these people, the average person, they are able to remain relatively ignorant is because they look good enough, they're just charismatic enough, and they're skilled. That leaves people like you and me to get fucked, because we don't have shit that they find profitable, I guess.